Oh, you got no?
4 o'clock, call personnel committee meeting to order. At the request of all members are present. First item on the agenda is conducting for floodplain manager and permitting officer planning position.
Okay, Miss Letitia's not here. Let's see if she might be outside.
They're going, you don't do the business in executive session.
I would guess we need to in case somebody calls in.
Your motion went to executive session.
Nobody here yet, gentlemen.
Motion by Mr. Blanch going to executive session, second by Mr. Palmer, all in favor? Any opposed?
No, just in case.
Ayes have it. We're going to executive session.
What y'all want?
No, we can go. Go ahead.
Go back in the executive.
You go
Oh,
back
for
to session.
personnel, yeah.
The call personnel committee, bring back the regular session. Motion, go back in regular session. Motion by Mr. Blanchard, second by Mr. Parville. All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, the next item is to request approval to hire for a plan manager, permanent officer, planning position.
I'll make a motion, we table this to the next meeting.
Motion by Mr. Blanchard to table,
Second.
second by Mr. Parville. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Farnville, second by Mr. Blanchard. Personnel committee meeting is adjourned.
All right, it's 5:15. We'll now start the Finance Committee meeting. Let the record reflect that all members are present with the exception of Mr. Myron McThurn. First on the agenda will be request approval to pay bills submitted through November 17th, 2022.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Knocking, second by Mr. Diaz. All in favor? Any nays? Motion carries. Next, we have review budget comparison statements for major funds for October 2022.
Yes, they are included in your packet for your review. Nothing really to be concerned about. We are in the process of finalizing amended budgets for this year, so everything will be taken care of.
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept by Mr. Nakane. Second by Mr. Alcohol. All in favor? Any nays? Motion carries. Next, we have request approval to amend motion for Parish Biddy basketball.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, put this on the agenda. First, I want to begin by thanking the jury for approving the budget. Based on the motion that was passed, it has prohibited us from kickstarting and getting the program going. From the standpoint of the motion, approving the budget, and that the parish has no involvement and it should be ran by an established organization. At this time, there is not enough time to establish an organization for this budget. And I wanted to go ahead and amend the motion, approve the budget, but amend the motion to approve the budget allocation with all proposed objectives as a one-time allocation for this year, with the understanding that this program will be operated, will be managed through an association the next year. That's my motion. So at this time, I do have that motion on the floor. The motion that was made and passed prohibited us from getting started and moving the program forward. So that's my motion.
Let me ask you, Ron. So if you want the parish to be involved with it, then we would have to hire these employees part-time, right?
Yes.
Have we advertised for these positions?
Have we advertised for it?
Yeah.
Once we get it approved.
So you're gonna take time to advertise for positions. So at that time, Renee, why can't you take that time to get your organization together?
Basketball is starting, Mr. Carter. The word is out. I thought everything would have been approved.
What your start date is?
My start date was supposed to be the first week of December. We're pushing it back because we hadn't approved everything fully to be ran and operated as we would like to.
Okay, so what you push it back to?
It's going to start probably the third week in December, and it's going to run all the way through March.
Okay, so if you're gonna start the third week in December, you can't get an organization together,
No, sir.
president, vice president, and a couple of members? to run the
No, and
program?
then you got to have that organization with a 501c3 and all other objectives.
You don't necessarily need that 501(c)(3).
Well, I can't see us giving $30,000 to just an organization at this time and nothing is established. So that's why I'm asking to approve the proposed budget allocation with all the objectives. There's basically right now, there's 4 recreation districts in the parish. Okay, that's 1, there's 6, there's 3, and 7 and 8. Right now, it was spoken at the last meeting of someone being bonded. Everybody, all those districts have someone that's bonded. Second of all, is that if there's anything that has to be bought by any of those recreation districts, it has to come back through this parish with a purchase order. Same thing that'll be going on. Therefore, they do have someone who's hired in Ward 8, Ward 9, that currently works. There's a payroll check that has to be cut as a part-time employee. We do have another part-time employee already on staff that does events at the community center. So it's no extra work on the administration because we do deposits, we cut payroll checks. If there's anything that needs to be bought and purchased, it's done with a purchase order anyway. So and there is a process and procedure that is ready to be put in place with the meeting that Kim and also Sandy have had for us to follow as pertains to making deposits and everything.
The only difference, just for the records, those part-time employees that you're speaking of do not report to us. They report to individual boards for their instruction.
Okay, so to advertise, how long you want to advertise for? 2 weeks?
A
10 days?
week. It's definitely really out there, but nothing can be done until it's approved.
Okay, then you got to interview.
I'm gonna have the coordinator that's gonna interview. I mean,
The coordinator.
it's gonna be Mr. Wildrick Carter.
Hold up, so this is something that's ran by the police jury, so he's automatic the coordinator? I
Well,
thought we should
it's all,
interview for the coordinator.
it's all in the budget. I'll put it all in the proposed
But
budget.
he's gonna be an employee of the police jury, right? We haven't even hired him as a coordinator yet.
No, he's not hired. He's not hired.
I think you got a great
He's
idea.
proposed.
I think you got a great
Keep the
idea.
jury out of this.
I think you need to take a little more time.
We're kicking it down the can, we're kicking it down the
I
road,
don't think
guys.
you're just prepared for it just yet. Because
I'm ready to move with it.
how many volunteers you got set up for this?
I don't have any volunteers.
So everyone's gonna be paid?
The only one's gonna be paid is the coordinators, the scorebook keepers,
So
clock
who's gonna push
operators,
these
and,
kids?
excuse me?
Who's gonna push these
We've got
kids?
volunteers. to
We're
coach.
gonna find some volunteers to coach. We're gonna find that.
I think we all got folks in our areas that volunteer to coach.
I think the trouble you're gonna run into here is that some people's gonna be giving their time, other people's gonna get paid. How long do you think that's gonna last?
I don't think we're gonna have that problem,
It will
Mr.
not
Bonville.
last.
Same thing with the sheriff or the basketball team. Once they find out some people's getting paid and some was volunteering, they fell apart.
I don't think that's gonna happen. No, it's not gonna be structured that way.
All right, we're gonna all take a check, but you.
Excuse me?
I'm willing to support
We're gonna all
it.
take a
I'm
check,
willing to
but you-
support it.
I don't wanna check.
I'm willing to support it.
See how long you stay.
I'm willing to support it. My motion still stands the same, that it stay funded for 1 year with the funds, with the $30,000, but it won't be parish rent. It won't be with parish part-time employees. You get your own organization, let them run the show. That's my motion. That's the kind of motion I have.
Right now, Mr. Carter, when you go from Lavierville to Belrose, our demographics does not show it to where Mr. Ponville mentioned that they've been having a CBA for the last 30 years. If you look at it for the last 30 years, we had a lot of organizations around here. We had a lot of baseball going on between Darcyville, Bayou Lewis, Lavierville, you name it. We all was a part of it. We all played in some form and fashion. But along the way, things got dropped, and the only thing that is really going is Mr. Como and your little organization in the back. So I would hate for something that we're trying to do meaningful in this parish, not to come to pass. I think there's more that we can do besides drainage work in this parish. We can have impact on kids' lives. And that's the thought behind it, and it's a conjunction of all of us.
But
great
let me say something about what you said. You mentioned that like the Bar-Lewis program and Fairport program. Those people, most of the people that serves on those boards, they have children that's participating in those recreation deals. A lot of them are volunteers. And to get a program going, that's what you're gonna have to depend on. You're not gonna be able to start hiring people to do this and do that because it's not gonna get done. If the volunteers and the parents don't want it, it won't happen.
You gotta get the parents involved.
Right now, the only parents that's gonna be involved is the parents that kids, that children are playing. I
I'm like
guarantee you that
Chris.
falls off from the wayside.
I'm like Chris. I'm against the
got
parents
his counter
getting
motion? I got
involved
my
in
motion
this
on the
because
floor.
I know what's gonna happen. It's gonna keep adding and adding and adding stuff. to the
Ron, you have a
parish.
great idea.
It's only a one-time allocation, guys, that we're doing this. This is a kickstart. There are ideas based off of what you guys talked about with an association. We're definitely looking at it, but we definitely want to at least kickstart it off for the first year. And then next year, we'll build a board from end to end of the parish, all four corners, put something real big together to where this can be a great program throughout this parish.
Okay, we have two motions on the floor.
All right, you guys counter motion?
Yes.
Is a counter
Well,
motion really necessary
no,
since it's
okay.
already approved?
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Is there a second for Ron's original
Right.
motion?
Mark me, so I can second. I'm in favor of supporting it. Supporting it.
He's chairing the
I'm chairing the
committee. Can
committee.
he second that?
I'm
motion?
chairing.
Yeah.
If there's a
He's
second, then it will continue. If not, it dies and the original motion from last meeting stays in effect.
Okay, so again, there's a motion on the floor by Mr. Alcorn. Is there a second? It dies for lack of a second. We're now going to number 4. Discuss the personnel policy manual as it, any other action we need to take on that, guys? Mr. Alcorn, you have to, what this body is saying is go out and try to establish your,
Well, even if it fails in committee, can I bring it up in the regular meeting?
sure you can.
That's what I plan to do.
Okay. Discuss personnel policy manual as it relates to public bid law.
And so a few months ago, we updated the personnel policy manual to remove some of the restrictions that we had for purchasing limits to basically to have it follow the public bid law. It was my understanding at the time that it would be the full public bid law, but I think it was understood and recorded that it would only be for material. Let me get the right wording for you.
Material and supplies.
Material and supplies, and not for public works.
So you wanna,
All right, and well, so I did speak to Mr. Calabro. He forwarded me some suggested procedures for local jurisdictions to follow from the legislative auditor. And I'd like to basically table this time. We'll bring it up at the next meeting and see if we can adopt some of the legislative auditor's recommendations to allow us to have a little bit more freedom to hire contractors. Basically, the problem we have, if we don't get 3 bidders, we can't move forward with a project. I'm sorry, 3 quotes. If we have 3 contacts with contractors and one refuses to quote the project dies because we can't satisfy our policy manual saying that we need 3 written quotes. So we've been unable to hire a contractor to fix some of our buildings because. we
But
don't have
that's
3
not
quotes.
completely correct, because if you go out for 30-day bid, then you don't even need 3 quotes.
Right, whoever bids.
So that's not 100% accurate.
I understand
30-day
that, but
bid
the
takes more
public bid law
time,
allows us
but
to spend
you're
up to
not
this
getting
limit without
prices
having to
in.
go out for bid.
Why they get 3 prices? Up to 60, under any expenditures under $60,000, why you get 3 prices?
That's materials and supplies. This is public works.
Public Works is 250,000.
250,000. Just to give y'all some history, the reason why we came to this light is because years ago, we were having contractors that we would just call in and getting jobs, go and do this, go and do that. Guess what happened to the prices? Up, because we had no competition. So then the jury said we need to get more competitive to make them get on an equal barrier and price the jobs.
Right.
But then that means that puts more work on administration trying to get jobs done. So I just caution you, if you open it up the floor to $200,000 and we just call a contractor,
No.
we're not gonna get the best bang for our buck.
I'm not suggesting doing that, but what I'm suggesting is removing the handcuffs so that we can move forward with projects in the $20,000 to $30,000 range. If we can't get 3 quotes, that's the problem. If we can't get 3 responsive quotes, we can still move forward because it's within the public bid law to move forward.
And I would have no problem with that as long as we're very clear about our thresholds.
Sure,
That
and
we're
that's,
not
and
looking at
that's,
something 180,000 and we only getting 1 or 2.
and that's why I want to table it so that we can come back with some actual limits to put in our policy manual. next meeting.
Okay.
great.
So no action.
No
on
action
that,
taken.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. And lastly, we have discussed and consider an off-road fuel tank to be stored at the parish barn.
I'll put that on the agenda. So right now, for all our equipment that we're fueling up with, we're buying fuel from the pump. We're paying taxes on road prices on this fuel. So I'd like to see at the beginning of the year that we have an off-road fuel tank stored at the parish barn. That way we can buy in bulk and we can save us some money.
I think that's an excellent idea.
Good idea.
Paul, what's your thought? Yeah.
It has its pros and its cons. I think the pros outweigh the cons. You can save about 55 cents a gallon on an off-road diesel. I know that the reason why we got away from having diesel in the yard 20 years ago was accountability. We use a fuel man card and it accounts for the fuel we use. We can keep track of what we use and how it's used. But I guess with today's technology, we can find a way to do that same thing on our yard. I have no issue with it. It sounds like a good idea.
Well,
Diesel, talk about diesel.
Diesel.
Correct.
Like
That's
gas.
correct.
You don't have to find a way, that's already set up,
Yes.
so you just utilize what's available.
Didn't we approve to get a tank purchase?
Yeah, I'm about to
That
say
was,
that.
that was for gas for emergencies for hurricanes. That's because we had issues with getting gas during the storm. And that tank is not being utilized right now because it was, we didn't fill it with gas, but you know, we could swap over and get another tank for that same situation, but I'll get some prices on fuel tanks.
And we just need to make sure, I mean, unfortunately, everybody's human and we just have to monitor to make sure personal vehicles are not used to fill them.
Well, diesel.
No, what if people have diesel vehicles?
I
So
don't-
there's protocols that will be put in place for
Yeah,
that.
that's.
What size are you recommending?
At least 2,000.
Is easy, yes.
So is it still now that the distributors would supply that tank for you? They still do that?
Distributors do supply,
But you-
but
You have to use that distributor. So it'd be, like Ms. Kim said, it'd be competitive to buy our own tank and get prices on it
Yeah,
on a monthly basis.
Okay.
Well, every month.
Okay, we get a motion?
prices of fuel change every day.
Yes, every day.
All right, motion by Mr. Diaz to allow the parish manager to purchase such a tank.
That purchase. just-
Get a price.
Get a price.
Prices.
Okay, get the prices on
I'd
it,
like
come back
to
to us.
set a certain budget so we could go ahead and purchase it.
I'd rather see how much first.
And just set a price up there, what we paid for the last one, Paul.
I looked for the invoices, the start time today, I couldn't find them. I don't think it was, I think it was either
8,000.
8 to 10 in that range.
So put a limit up to $10,000.
I'll come back, I'll get 3 prices, come back to the next meeting with that. And then, you know, we'll see how it goes.
That's how it goes. I mean, 55 cents a gallon, you're gonna save, you know, versus how much diesel a month you.
I mean, we could save a lot of money in all these years.
So I think it would take a couple of weeks to get your policies and procedures in place to document who's gonna be who's gonna be withdrawing from the tank and so forth. Maybe in the meantime, he can start doing that and have those in place, and whenever the tank's approved, he can be put in service sooner. So I think our
Get us a
time of savings would be about the same.
We could probably implement some type
Second,
of
my
price system.
motion that we prove you to start getting prices.
All right.
The report
Motion by Diaz, second by Mr. Knox, all in favor? Any nays? Motion passed. Motion joined by Mr. Knox, second by Mr. Carter. Meeting adjourned.
all right, we'll go ahead and get started with the engineering grants committee meeting. All members are present. First item is, well, he's not here, so he can't update the parish engineer. Second is update the grants coordinator from the grants coordinator.
Hello, good afternoon. So I was able to finish my CDBG application and I was able to turn it in. It was due yesterday. I was able to work with Mr. Joseph and Mr. Shannon Eggerson from South Central Planning. They were able to help give me the necessary information for our application. I also worked with Mr. Leroy for the citizen participation element of the application. We had a public hearing to discuss the application as well as a public comment period. Moreover, our water sector application, it looks like it's promising that it will be funded. However, the final vote won't take place until early December. So we won't know for sure until then. And that's what I've been working on and my updates so far.
I have a question for you on the gap funding.
Yes, sir.
On the application, seems that there was some ambiguity as to how much the parish can actually apply for. I think that we can apply for an additional 25,000 on top of what we've been applying for, based on the notes in the application. I'd like you to check in with the state to see if that is in fact true.
Yes,
I
sir.
think we are leaving some money on the table there for the gap.
Yes, sir. I'll inquire about that.
Leonard, if you have some questions about that, maybe speak with Brian because he did talk to me about that as well, that he thought there was another avenue to get an extra amount.
Prime
So I
blanket
think,
shows?
yes, I think he's
Okay,
done
yes,
some
ma'am.
research on it already, yes.
Yes, ma'am, I'll do that.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, next date is update on drainage master plan and flood mitigation by GS Engineering, which he's not here either. Next item, request final approval for Cypress Haven RV Park, Pier Park, Ward 9.
Yes, sir. There's a packet on each of your desks, and there's photographs that Ann and Carol taken of the various sites. There are 12 lots with 20-foot apart from each of the lots. Each of the lots have electricity, sewer, and water to it, and they're requesting final approval.
I'm not on the committee, but I approve it. That's your recommendation?
Yes, sir, that's our recommendation.
Motion by Leroy to approve it, second by Michael, all in favor. Opposed? Next item, discuss the leasing of Shell Beach Road boat launch in Ward 9.
Table it, because we're still working with the family. Negotiation.
Next item, discuss the Bayou Buff Railroad Bridge, which the state closed that bridge down. When that was, Friday?
That was, actually, it was Friday. I got the word Monday. Yeah. Friday, and it was closed this morning. Bridge is now closed to big.
Now you're checking in with the parish engineer, but a
The
call.
parish engineer was supposed to prepare a cost for me this afternoon, but he's not here. We had the three options, and the most viable option is to destroy the bridge and put down 272-inch culverts down there. Those culverts run about, I got prices on culverts, those culverts run about, two culverts will run about $10,000. So that's just the culverts itself. With the possible material that's got to go in another 10 or 12. And I don't think we can handle it because it's going to take demolition of that concrete structure. It's about 55 feet across that waterway.
What's the limit of, not the limit, the depth of the water there?
It's not that deep. The way the state's telling me, yes.
What would be the length of the culvert you're looking at?
There are two 30-foot culverts, 72 inches diameter.
Okay,
And that would be shotgun next to each other, and we would fill it with recycle or some type of material to where it would take us out of the off-system bridge program altogether. So we wouldn't be having to follow the criteria from the state for the
now you
bridge.
said you don't think the parish would be able to do it?
Let me ask
Does
you,
it,
before you answer that, we have taken on a personnel that, let me finish, please, that does such work. That is the type of work that he's known to do. I'm merely asking that, and what we have at Ezekiel Street, if we have on hand already the dirt and the riffraff, if that is in fact what we need to help in this regard.
The
Just a
demolition of
question.
the contract structure is gonna be the issue. You're gonna need a long excavator with probably a hammer on it, and then you have to contain that concrete if it goes into the waterway. And I'm not, that's the part that's gonna give us the trouble. Or either we can hook to it with a large crane and get that concrete top, that structure is concrete on top of the substructure. So that's gonna be the issue. If we go there with a hammer and start hammering, it's gonna fall into the canal. And that, it's possible we would cover it all, but then, I don't want to get into some issues with, with the Coast Guard or with DQ.
now, Paul,
The concrete,
Islands,
the pilings are wood, but the concrete, the structure, the
just
surface
so-
itself is concrete.
so.
Yes.
the concrete was poured on top of the wood.
Yes, correct.
Paul, there's a contractor right next to that bridge, got long reach machines and everything.
Yeah, get a price.
And I think we need to maybe discuss with him. And I know he'd be glad to do that. Not just because he's a business, but he has helped us out in Biologics and a lot of things.
You know him, Mr. Irvin?
Yeah, I know.
He's in the parish. He's
Hey,
in the parish.
It's right next-
It's right next door.
He don't even have to
I
move
think that
the
would be,
equipment.
that's the stumbling block is to get that concrete
He's
structure.
got a barge
Yeah.
that you can go in there. You need a barge to get to it. So you've got all
Well, we
that.
can go around the back.
Huh?
We can go around the back if we had to.
He's got a barge.
Yeah, I
But he
understand.
all he gotta do is go 30 feet.
Yeah, I understand.
Paul, I have a question for you. In
I'm
the
gonna talk
inspection
to you.
report, it mentioned that there was an option to have the bridge load tested and derated.
That was not an option by the state that I was given, because I asked them that if we could drop the rating, the bridge is rated for 10, 15, I asked if we can go to 5 tons. And they didn't give us that. They didn't
It's
give that
bad.
option. It's very
No,
bad.
I
They
understand,
didn't give me
but
that option. I asked
but
that.
I know the road is limited to clearance
Well,
by
that's
the railroad
correct.
track.
And and the other option I had was to to donate the bridge stop our parish maintenance and donate the bridge to the landowner, but the landowner doesn't own all of the bridge, it's on railroad right away. So I'm in discussions with the railroad, I didn't get back with them, they're not moving at a snail's pace. So,
And this has been going on for about 15, 20 years. John had called me one day, about 15 years ago, said the state was gonna have to close it down. And I don't know what happened, how they negotiated or what. The bridge was not as bad as it is right now. And they negotiated to let it stay open, but now it's much worse.
Is that a one way in, one way out
Yes.
bridge?
Yeah.
But in that inspection report that the divers produced, there was a mention in there of a solution of having it load rated in its current condition.
Well, you'd have to look at, you can see through the pollen.
I understand, but what I'm trying to get to is if we can load test it to allow these residents to go in their passenger
Right now,
vehicles
yeah.
to use it until we can
Right
get a good
now,
replacement.
yeah. Yeah, that might be able to be done.
and for some reason, the state didn't sound like that was an option that was available, like I said.
No,
if they wanted
the
to
other day,
specifically
he
close it,
didn't,
it
he
just
didn't
had
sound
to be
like the only
closed.
option to him was
To close it, no
But for
vehicle,
the
no vehicle
liability,
traffic.
they meant for the liability,
Yeah.
they don't get paid for nothing.
Well, no, I mean, like I said, without those numbers available, like I asked for it this morning, I can't really give you an option. I mean, I guess tomorrow morning I can go ahead and.
call
I'll
them,
call you
call
and
them and
get-
find out
yeah.
if they could lower it. The biggest thing that goes over there, the pickup truck, am I right? That's about it, a pickup
That's
truck.
correct.
How long is this bridge?
It's about,
60 feet.
yeah, 55 to 60 feet.
How long?
20.
The width? Maybe, I don't even know if it's 20 feet wide.
18 to 20.
So if you go with 40-foot cover, 730,
Total package on bridge.
make more sense.
Well, like I said, I wanted an engineer to look at it. I'm not an engineer, man.
That bridge is very, very old.
Yeah, the
Very
important thing to
old.
see is
That
I
used to
don't
be the
know how
old
much
Spanish
area
trail.
going back to the loops to get on Highway 90. I don't know how much of that area drains through this area. So we have to make sure we have enough drainage there to get through. While
Yes.
we're replacing, if we're replacing a
A span.
Span bridge
Yeah,
with a
span,
culvert.
understand?
So the residents now park on this side of the bridge, you walk across.
That is correct. These are the residents right here. They have to walk probably 200 feet, 300 feet.
So somebody put out something this afternoon that there's emergency access if needed.
Yeah.
There's no access.
No.
You cannot, I put concrete, I had to block it with concrete blocks. Not no regular barricades you put over here that people can throw in the waterway. You had to go with excavators and block it. That's a state requirement.
If there's an emergency ambulance, gotta get to the residents. None, go to the bridge, just stop.
They
I
can't
don't
fit
know
under
if
the
an
bridge. They can't fit
ambulance
under the bridge
can
anyway,
pass
yeah.
under that
They
bridge.
They couldn't fit under that bridge anyway.
Yeah.
Still had, so that was, the bridge has a 7.4 clearance. So that's a tall F-250 has trouble getting under there.
But we don't need, I mean, we need to move kind of quick on this.
Yes, we need to move to.
That was made for horse and buggies.
Well, I can go first thing in the morning and get with this contractor that's next to the bridge and see if he can come up with a viable option. If we can get that structure removed with a crane, I think we could do it in-house. But I like to say, I'm with Leroy, I gotta make sure that we have enough flow going through, engineer needs to look at if we have enough flow going through that culvert to satisfy that drainage. I don't want that water to back up over the.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, if you go on 662 by the railroad track, the culverts they got under the highway there draining the swamp is probably smaller than what you're talking about putting.
right, there's a spur that comes off of the tracks. And that spur, I think, is gonna be your flow limiter. As long as you figure than that one.
Why don't we approve some funds tonight?
Well,
Yes,
yeah,
let's approve some funds tonight, I think he ain't gotta come back to the table, he could get some prices and whatever best to get it done quickly as possible. Not to come back to the board,
Allocate some funds
Emergency
now,
fund,
so.
yeah. Yes.
yeah, it can get started. Can get started on it.
Is it possible, Mr. Urban, that you could accompany him with, your
Yeah,
neighbor?
yeah,
So y'all can
yeah.
agree to go
What
together?
kind of funds you think? I mean, pad it a little, 20, 30, 40, 50.
You may not use it.
No,
We don't
no,
know.
no.
I just don't,
I make a motion that we allocate $50,000
Out of the road fund?
out of road, the
Road
bridge,
fund or road and bridge?
road, bridge,
Road and
fund,
bridge.
I mean, I don't know what you got.
Road and for his emergency bridge repair replacement.
Okay,
Yeah, I problem with
motion by Jeff
To
to
proceed.
appropriate 50,000.
Yeah, we don't want to
Second.
slow it down.
Yeah.
Second by Ron, all in favor? Opposed? Okay,
that. Mr. Chair, the engineer, past engineer is on his way to provide you some estimates as you requested.
It's been a regular meeting.
okay. Next item, request an update on Lee Drive project, which he's not here to update that either.
You got something on it?
No, Linda should have some.
Yes, sir, I have something. So currently, I've been told it's number 4 in the queue to be reviewed. And he told me it should be reviewed around mid-December. So that's the update I have so far.
Put it on your calendar, call him back in
Oh,
December.
don't worry.
It's on your calendar,
I'm on
Jamie.
Yes, Mr. Jamie's on it as well.
Hopefully by the first meeting in January, we could get it approved on the agenda, and we can go out for a bid.
Okay, next item, request an update on natural gas pump on Oak Lane.
Still waiting on gas lines for that. We'll let Joseph elaborate on that whenever he comes in.
Next item is request an update on ring levies in the upper Pier Park.
Same thing, waiting on Joseph.
That's it.
Motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn by Leroy, second by Michael, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Six o'clock, let the record reflect that all members are present. Now start the regular meeting, Assumption Parish Police Jury, Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022 at 6 o'clock p.m. We'll start with a roll call, myself, as well as a pledge to be led by Mr. Alcon.
Mr. Carter.
I'm sorry, Mr. Carter. The prayer will be led by myself. God who teaches us by sending the light of his Holy Spirit into our hearts, grant that by the light of that Spirit, right judgment may be ours, and that we may forever find joy in his guidance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have requested approval of the minutes of November 9th, 2022. So moved by Mr. Nakane, second by Mr. Diaz. All in favor? Any nays? Motion carries. We will now have public comments, period, relative to anything that's on the agenda. Public comments, period. Going once, going twice. 3 times, let the record reflect that there is any public comments. Next, we have, in order, we had a personnel committee meeting at 4 o'clock today, led by Mr. Carter.
Personnel committee met at 4 o'clock. All members present. First item was conduct interview for flood plan manager, committee officer, and planning position. We have that in executive session. We're gonna continue those interviews at the next meeting, and then we'll make a decision to move forward on that. Second item was request approval to hire flood plan manager, permit officer, planning position. That was tabled until the next meeting. I present it to all to your form of motion.
Motion by Mr. Carter. Second. Second by Mr. Palmville. All in favor? Any nays? Motion carries. Next, after we had a finance committee meeting that was chaired by myself. First on the agenda, we had request approval to pay bills submitted through November 17th, 2022. Second, we had reviewed budget comparison statements for major funds for October 2022. There's no major changes or anything alarming. Next, we have request approval to amend the motion for, well, we're gonna, if you don't mind, we'll skip that one and go to 4 and come back to it. So fourthly, we had discussed the personnel policy manual as it relates to the public bid law. And for the most part, we want to table it to adopt the legislators, auditors, I guess, directions on that. You guys want to add anything to that, Leroy?
Just table to next.
We'll table to next meeting. And the other item was discuss and consider an off-road fuel tank to be stored at the parish barn. We authorized the parish manager to get some quotes on that. We also put a cap on it of $10,000. Can we get a motion on those?
Motion.
All right, motion by Mr. Mathern, second by Mr. Diaz. All in favor? Any nays? Motion carries. And we also had number 3 was request. Number 3, request approval to amend motion for parish biddy basketball.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to go ahead and change that motion to approve the budget allocation with all the proposed objectives as a one-time allocation for this year. And the program will be managed and operated through the Ward 1 Rec District. That's my motion.
I second that motion.
All right, motion by Mr. Alcon, second by Mr. Mathern. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries.
Motion to accept the committee
Okay,
report.
okay, so motion to accept the report by Mr. Nakane, second by Mr. Carter. All in favor? Any nays? Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Okay, the engineering grant committee met this afternoon. All members were present. We're given an update by the grants coordinator. 1 and 3 was tabled. We approved Cypress Haven RV Park in Pier Park, Ward 9. Number 5 was tabled. Number 6, we discussed the Bayou Buff Railroad Bridge, and we allocated up to $50,000 so we can get a start on that bridge. And I think they're waiting on some culvert allocations, proposals. Number 7 was tabled. Number 8, number 9 was tabled. What's the table thing? And that's all in the form of the motion.
I got a question, Mr. Blanchard. You talked to, you got some specifications relative to what that report revealed relative to the bridge.
Yeah, I shared it with
Are you
Mr.
able
LeBlanc.
to, you know, we look at that from another perspective, or perhaps from that perspective, from that report?
Right, he's aware of it now.
Okay,
I will contact the state tomorrow morning and see if that's an option. That's all I do. It wasn't an option when they discussed it the other day, but it's possibility they may have overlooked that statement like Mr. Blanchard.
Mr. Blanchard, would you share with them again where everybody's aware of what we're referring to?
There's an inspection company that came and do a diving inspection of the bridge, and their priority recommendations included doing a load test on the bridge and replacing some of the timbers to have the bridge remain open. It said if the structural changes couldn't be made and the load test couldn't be changed, then the bridge had to be closed.
That should be pursued first.
It's just a suggestion that we pursue it to buy us some time to do a permanent replacement for the bridge.
Yeah.
It's another question about a bridge. Do you have any idea what's the status of the state with the Bike Raft Bridge?
Yeah. The White Crab Bridge, that contract is in default.
Yes.
So,
That, we were given 2 options. The first option was to let the bond commission work to find another contractor, which would take about 60 days. So that, and then the second option would be the parish would take over the construction of the bridge. So I discussed it with Mr. Alcorn and Mr. Diaz, and it's best for the bond commission to continue with the bridge and keep the ownership of it, because they had the liability of it, and wait another 60 days for them to find out a contractor to complete the bridge. The bridge can be crossed. It's 99% complete. The striping and the overlaying's done. The guardrails on the sides are done. It's just some little small guardrail work that would require, that's little wing guardrails. And it's by the time we would get a contractor to do it, and it would take longer than would them to find another contractor.
so on the liability side, the motoring public is using it. Is that a parish? That shouldn't put us in. any-
No bridge? No, as of right now, it's still all, the bond commission still holds the liability on the bridge. I checked that with the state. That's why we did not take it.
Through the bond itself and through the project, they have insurance coverage at that
That is
time.
correct.
Okay.
That's why that was our decision to let it go the way it's going.
Okay,
But basically the same procedure that we had to take when we had our last road contract is the same procedure the state is taking as pertains to the default of this Bike Raft Bridge.
And
Same
our
procedure.
recommendation when speaking to Mr. LeBlanc was leave it that way. Let them take the, because right now, even though it's 99% complete, if you agree to take over the construction, somebody's using that bridge and shouldn't be and goes off the edge, you become liable. I would not.
It's a no-brainer now.
Okay, Joseph, you want to give us an update on Lee Drive and the Oak Lane pump and the ring levies?
Yes, Lee Drive is still under review by the state architect. In fact, I saw we are now 4th in the queue. We were 7th in the queue, so we're making our way up. His estimate right now is that he would have an response back to us by mid-December. So we really can't move any further than that. Those plans are ready to go to bid as soon as we get his comments back. The natural gas pump on Oak Lane, we just need to check with the gas company because we had met with them on site. They agreed that they could service gas to the site. I believe that request for service was put in. That's something I need to check with Mr. Blankenship. And once that's there, I have also spoken with Mr. Blankenship about the specs for the natural gas engine. I believe he has that set up where he can order it now, if he hasn't done so already. Update on the ring levies in Upper Pierpont. We're in the process of preparing the applications for submission to DNR and the Corps on all of them. The one that is currently outstanding, we just received a response from DNR requesting an option to either come up with a mitigation plan for the material that was placed in the wetlands area, or the alternative option is to pay into the state in lieu fee program, which we have requested, we have sent back to them a request for what that amount would be. It is only because it is less than, it's 0.03 acres that they are claiming, which is a very small amount. But a mitigation plan for that would cost, in our opinion, a mitigation plan for that would probably cost more than the in lieu fee for such a small amount. We're requesting what that amount would be. Once we have that response from them, we could then prepare a formal recommendation to you with what we would think to move forward. If the in lieu fee is some outrageous number, then obviously we would then come to you with a recommendation for a mitigation plan and a cost associated with it. However, from past experience, for that amount, I don't foresee that in lieu fee being an exorbitant amount.
We are still in a state right of way here, and the mitigation was done whenever they did the rule back then. So we need to find out for
Yes.
sure.
And that point was made to them. The response that I got was that mitigation was for the roadway back then, and that a number of years has passed, and that this is considered new damage to new vegetation. That was the answer I got. I agree, while I agree with you that once an area is mitigated, it is mitigated. That is not how the state is doing it.
The state or DNR?
DNR.
We need to get someone from the state to talk to DNR on this.
Okay,
Okay, Joseph.
Other levies, Joseph, you know,
On the other ring levies, as I said, we're putting together that application. We're kind of looking at how they're responding to this one so that we tweak our plans and things a little bit better so that they go through hopefully a little quicker.
What about the engineering on the ring levies?
Engineering on the ring levies has begun.
Remember, December 31st, right?
Yes, sir.
Joseph, this number one, the update on the project. I think Leroy has a question on.
What's the status of the canopy at the Department of Motor Vehicles?
The canopy at the Department of Motor Vehicles, we had prepared a design, gave it to Mr. Blankenship. He had gotten a quote for it. As I understood it, that quote was around 16,000. And for the canopy design, I know it was only one quote, but that was reasonable. We were recommending that they move forward with it. I was under the impression that he was putting it on. I thought he had approved it.
Yeah, it's been approved to proceed.
I'm just following up on it because it's an active project.
Yeah, he's got to go on it.
Okay, that's it. That's all in the form of a motion.
Okay.
However you want to do it.
Second. All the votes in the form of a motion. Second by who? By Mr. Nakane. All in favor? Motion carried. Thanks, Mr. All right, request approval for the president to sign the cooperative endeavor agreement between the Assumption Parish Police Jury and the Louisiana Department of Veterans Affairs.
This is our normal annual agreement that we have to redo to fund the Veterans Office. So I do recommend approval.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Carter. Second by Mr. Palmer. All in favor? Any nays? Motion carries. Next, request approval to replace Antoinette Thomas on the library board of controls.
I think we have two applicants and they are. Carl Franklin, they were emailed to you all, and Mr. Jimmy LeBlanc.
I make a motion that I recommend Mr. Jimmy LeBlanc out of Libreville, owner of my last food store.
Where was Mr. Anthony from? What ward?
One. I think what they up in there isn't very much participation from down the body. I think y'all got several from up the body.
And Jerry kind of hold it down for us. All right, that's cool.
All right, there's a motion by Mr. Nakane, a second by Mr. Yes, all in favor? Any nays? Motion carries. And next, we've got request approval of an occupational license for Camel Cutters LLC, Pier Park. Motion by Mr. Mathern, second by Mr. Come on, all in favor? Any nays? Motion carries. Next, we've got discussion and review labor policy and procedures. Mr. Carter?
Yes, I put it on the agenda. It was brought to my attention last week that we had several individuals been having some minor accidents in the parish vehicles. Some of the stuff is not being reported to the jury. The question came up, should the individual have to take a drug test? I feel like any individual that get in an accident in a parish vehicle should automatically go and get a drug test. So we're gonna review the policy with Paul and something in writing. The state pretty much any individual involved in an accident automatically get drug tested. And also we're gonna put some stipulation that if you have found at fault, I mean, with negligence, then there's gonna be some kind of punishment. Because right now, these guys are just wrecking up these vehicles and nothing being done about it. I understand that we had a door on PC equipment that got damaged. The door been replaced already. The jury didn't know nothing about it. Don't know who did it.
Tell us about it, Paul.
I was on vacation. I didn't know who did it either. I didn't-
What PC equipment?
Excavator,
Which one?
Kubota.
How much the door fall for you?
No, I have no idea.
The door was damaged, replaced.
The door was damaged, yeah, the glass, it just crippled the bottom and then it broke the glass on the door. The door still closes, it just broke, it crippled the bottom part and broke and shattered the glass.
I agree with you, Mr. Carter. This year, we've invested a lot of money in new equipment. And it comes to a point that we have to be held accountable to take care of the little bit that we have. We're not always have this pot of money like we have. We've got to take care of our things a little bit better. I agree with you on that.
And what you're asking, it shouldn't be the exception, it should be the rule. It should be.
It's gonna be a rule for everybody.
So we're gonna take a motion
You don't need-
we need a motion, we just need to move on it.
We're gonna move on it. Present it hopefully within the next 30 days to the jury for approval. Policy, change of the policy.
And maybe you can, just a suggestion, a 3-day suspension without pay.
But that's gonna be part of it.
Mr. Carter, you plan to have any personnel meetings with Mr. Paul? Of Product
Yes, I
Protection
will,
Lab?
I will meet with Paul for input on it, and then we're gonna come up with a policy, change to the policy, and then present it to the jury for approval.
I don't mind being part of that from.
Okay, since we on with Chris talking with personnel, y'all wanted personnel evaluations before December 1st. What direction y'all want to take on that? We haven't completed.
Send them out to all the jurors.
Scan them all and send them to all the jurors.
So Kim, so my personnel, I'll send it to you or I'll send it to
Send it to the
the
jurors.
Not a problem.
If they act upon it and take action, then we're going to eventually put them all part in their personnel files, then they would come to me. Okay.
All right. Next week, we did vote on that one, right, Chris? If we allowed it, or did we not?
No, we're not voting. We're going later.
We're not taking action.
Yeah, we're coming
We're
back.
just gonna allow you to do it, okay. Next, we have update on inquiry to cellular carriers regarding poor service in our area. What is our area, Leroy?
Assumption Parish.
Here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been trying to get a cell tower now for 21
A
years.
couple months ago, or a little bit longer, we had suggested, or we approved a letter be sent to AT&T carriers to investigate the cell service or lack of cell service in our areas. Last week, we had a power outage. Cell service in Belrose area was non-existent during that power outage. I reached out to Mr. Long to try to determine who was the contact with AT&T that we need to talk to get the service up. He did reach out to someone. I also spoke to Representative Chad Brown. He's worked on similar issues in Iberville Parish. And he has some other contacts that he's reaching out to come back and do some signal strength testing. I know for sure the service in our area was diminished after Hurricane Ida and was never restored since Hurricane Ida. AT&T at this time, and Representative Brown believes that they're using the signal data pre-storm to justify that there's no issues in our area. So he's gonna ask them to come back through, do a full sweep in our area to see what the signal strength is,
Verify.
to see what the problems are. But I believe a lot of the problems that were related to last week's event was the battery backup is probably just out of service. The batteries need to be replaced or something like that, but they should have a battery backup for 8 to 12 hours to take care of temporary power outages.
The battery was dead. Yeah, no
Or
backup.
it may be, I don't know.
I reached out to the AT&T rep, which is Lindsay's Califano. And she's researching it as we speak. And as soon as I get an email, I'll forward it to the police jury on that. But she is our contact, and and I talked to Terrible, and they've had the same sort of problems, and she worked those problems and solved some of those issues. So we'll see how that plays out.
So this is, just wanted to give an update on
Good
that.
information. Great. Okay, other business that's maybe added, by unanimous vote?
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Motion adjourned by Mr. Farmville, second by Mr. Come all in favor? Nays? Motion carried. Okay.
Look at that, Miss Donna. You're on time, Miss Donna. You're on time.